For many meat lovers, one steak stands above all others. This steak is the ribeye. It holds a special place in their hearts, and on their grills of course. The ribeye is celebrated for its rich flavor. It is also known for its incredible tenderness. When cooked properly, a ribeye offers an experience that is hard to beat. It is a true indulgence. People often choose ribeye for special occasions or simply when they crave a truly satisfying meal. Its popularity is no accident. It comes from specific qualities. The allure of the ribeye steak is truly powerful. It begins with its appearance. A well-cut ribeye is a beautiful sight. It often has a generous amount of marbling. We will talk more about marbling later. This marbling promises a juicy and flavorful bite. The deep red color of the meat contrasts with the white fat. This creates an appealing visual even before it hits the heat. The very thought of a sizzling ribeye can make mouths water. It's a primal attraction, a connection to good food and good times. Many factors contribute to the ribeye's esteemed status. To truly appreciate the ribeye, we need to know where it comes from. The ribeye steak is cut from the rib section of the cow. This area is specifically from the 6th to the 12th rib. The muscles in this part of the animal do not work very hard. This is important. Muscles that do less work are generally more tender. Think about it. A leg muscle does a lot of work. It is tougher. The rib muscles are different. They are naturally more tender. This is a key reason for the ribeye's famed texture. The primary muscle in a ribeye steak is this is a long muscle that runs along the spine. It is the main component of the steak. However, the ribeye often includes other muscles too. As mentioned before, the ribeye cap is highly prized. This muscle sits on top of the. It is separated by a kernel of fat. The cap has a looser grain. It is incredibly rich and tender. Some ribeyes might also include parts of the and muscles. These add to the complexity. The rib primal cut is where ribeye steaks originate. This is a larger section of meat. Butchers will first separate this primal from the rest of the carcass. From there, it can be processed in a few ways. It can be kept bone-in to make rib steaks or prime rib roasts. Or the bones can be removed to produce boneless ribeye steaks. Both bone-in and boneless versions are popular. The bone is thought by some to add flavor during cooking. Others prefer the convenience of a boneless cut. The choice often comes down to personal preference. Understanding the anatomy of the ribeye helps us appreciate its qualities. The location on the cow gives it natural tenderness. The specific muscles involved contribute unique flavors and textures. The presence of the ribeye cap is a significant bonus. This knowledge also helps when selecting a ribeye. You can look for steaks with a good-sized cap. You can understand why some ribeyes might look slightly different from others. It all goes back to the specific part of the rib section they were cut from. This foundation is crucial before we even discuss marbling or aging. Now let's talk about one of the ribeye's most defining features. This feature is marbling. Marbling refers to the small flecks and streaks of fat within the muscle itself. This is called intramuscular fat. It is different from the external fat found on the edges of a steak. When you look at a high-quality ribeye, you will see this intricate web. It looks like fine white lines or snowflakes scattered throughout the red meat. This marbling is not just for show. It plays a critical role in the steak's taste and texture. It is a key indicator of quality. The amount and distribution of marbling can vary significantly. This depends on several factors. The breed of cattle is important. Breeds like Angus, Wagyu, and Hereford are known for good marbling. The animal's diet also plays a significant part. Cattle finished on grain tend to have more marbling than grass-fed cattle. Age and genetics also influence the development of this intramuscular fat. Beef grading systems like the USDA system in the United States heavily rely on marbling. Prime-grade beef, the highest quality, has abundant marbling. Choice has less, and Select has even less. Why is this intramuscular fat so important? Marbling contributes to flavor in a big way. Fat carries flavor compounds. As the steak cooks, this marbled fat melts. It bastes the meat from within. This process releases those delicious, beefy flavors. It also adds a certain richness and depth to the taste. Steaks with good marbling are often described as more buttery. They have a more complex flavor profile. Without sufficient marbling, a steak can taste bland or dry. It might lack that satisfying, savory character we expect. Beyond flavor, marbling also greatly impacts the juiciness and tenderness of the steak. The melting fat lubricates the muscle fibers as the steak cooks. This helps to keep the meat moist. Even if cooked to slightly higher temperatures, a well-marbled steak can remain juicy. The fat also helps to break up the muscle tissue slightly. This contributes to a more tender mouthfeel. A steak with little marbling will often be tougher. It will dry out more easily during cooking. Marbling is truly the secret ingredient woven directly into the meat. We have established that marbling is intramuscular fat, but let's delve deeper into why it is so crucial. It is the trifecta of taste, tenderness, and juiciness. These are the qualities that meat lovers seek in a perfect ribeye. Marbling is the primary driver behind all three. Without adequate marbling, a ribeye simply would not be a ribeye. It would be a different, likely less satisfying eating experience. The difference can be quite stark. It's like comparing a rich, moist chocolate cake to a dry, plain one. Both are cake, but one is clearly superior. Consider taste first. Fat is a solvent for many aromatic compounds. These compounds are responsible for the unique flavors we associate with beef. When the marbled fat melts during cooking, it disperses these flavors throughout the meat. This creates a richer, more complex, and more intensely beefy taste. Think of it as a self-basting mechanism. The fat renders and coats the muscle fibers. This ensures every bite is packed with flavor. Steaks with higher marbling scores like USDA Prime or Japanese A5 Wagyu offer an explosion of taste that is unmatched. This is due directly to their superior fat content. Next, let's focus on tenderness. Muscle fibers are what give meat its structure. Leaner cuts of meat can sometimes be tough. This is because the muscle fibers are packed tightly together. Marbling helps to separate these muscle fibers. The flecks of fat interspersed within the muscle create natural breaking points. As the steak cooks and the fat melts, it further loosens the muscle structure. This results in a steak that is noticeably more tender. It yields more easily to the bite. The sensation is often described as melt in your mouth, especially with highly marbled cuts. Finally, juiciness is a key component of a great steak. Nobody enjoys a dry, chewy piece of meat. Marbling is essential for maintaining moisture. As the steak heats up, moisture naturally begins to evaporate. However, the melting intramuscular fat provides an additional source of liquid. This liquid fat coats the muscle fibers. It helps to prevent them from drying out. This means that a well-marbled steak will remain juicier, even if it is cooked to medium or medium well. The fat acts as an insurance policy against dryness. It ensures a succulent bite every time. Section 5. The Butcher's Art: Precision in Every Primal Cut. The journey to a perfect ribeye steak begins long before it hits your plate. It starts with the skilled hands of a butcher. Breaking down a side of beef into its primal cuts is an art form. It requires knowledge, precision, and experience. The rib primal, from which ribeyes are derived, is a large and valuable section. How it is handled and cut significantly impacts the quality of the final steaks. There is very little room for error. A misplaced cut can devalue the meat, or it can result in poorly shaped or less desirable steaks. First, the butcher must expertly separate the rib primal from the loin and chuck sections. This requires precise cuts along specific bones and muscle seams. The angle of the cut matters. The cleanliness of the cut matters. Every movement is deliberate. Once the rib primal is isolated, decisions must be made. Will it be sold as a whole standing rib roast, or will it be further processed into individual steaks? If steaks are the goal, the butcher must decide whether to make them bone-in or boneless. This choice affects the next steps in the cutting process. For boneless ribeyes, the large backbones known as the chine bone and feather bones and rib bones must be carefully removed. This process, known as boning out, requires skill and a very sharp knife. The butcher aims to remove the bones cleanly. They want to leave as much valuable meat on the primal as possible. Any meat left on the bones is essentially waste from a steak perspective. After deboning, the rib primal is often trimmed of excess external fat. Some external fat is desirable for flavor and moisture, but too much is wasteful and unappealing to many consumers. The precision involved at this stage cannot be overstated. Each cut influences the yield, the appearance, and ultimately the value of the meat. A skilled butcher understands the anatomy of the animal intimately. They know how the muscles run. They know where the fat deposits lie. They can visualize the final steaks within the larger primal cut. This expertise ensures that the rib primal is handled optimally. It sets the stage for producing beautiful, well-proportioned ribeye steaks. This initial breakdown is a critical foundation for quality. It's where the potential of the ribeye truly begins to take shape. Section 6. Crafting the steak: the skill of individual portioning. Once the rib primal has been expertly prepared, the next crucial step is cutting it into individual steaks. This might seem straightforward, just slice it up, right? But there is much more to it than that. The skill of the butcher continues to play a vital role. Portioning individual ribeye steaks requires precision and attention to detail. Several factors must be considered. These include steak thickness, consistency, and the angle of the cut. Each of these elements impacts the final cooking performance and eating experience of the steak. Thickness is perhaps the most obvious consideration. Ribeye steaks can be cut to various thicknesses. Common thicknesses range from 1 inch to 2 inches, or even thicker. Thicker steaks, generally 1.5 inches or more, are often preferred by steak aficionados. This is because a thicker cut allows for a good sear on the outside. It also makes it easier to achieve a perfectly cooked interior. It is harder to overcook a thick steak. Conversely, very thin ribeyes can cook too quickly. They might dry out before a proper crust develops. The butcher must cut consistently to the desired thickness. Consistency across all steaks cut from the same primal is also important. If you are buying multiple ribeyes, you expect them to be similar in size and weight. This ensures fair value and predictable cooking times. A skilled butcher can cut steaks with remarkable uniformity. They do this by eye and by feel, honed through years of practice. They also pay attention to the grain of the meat. Cutting across the grain is a general rule for most steaks. This shortens the muscle fibers. It makes the steak more tender to eat. For ribeyes, this is less critical than for some other cuts due to their natural tenderness. However, it is still a consideration. The angle of the cut and how the butcher handles the knife also matter. A clean, smooth cut is desirable. A jagged or hacked surface can affect how the steak sears. It can also impact its appearance. The butcher must use a long, sharp knife. They should make smooth, even strokes. They also need to consider the eye of the ribeye and the highly prized cap muscle. They try to ensure each steak gets a good portion of both. This maximizes the quality and appeal of each individual steak. It is a craft that combines technical skill with an understanding of the meat's structure. Section 7. The transformation of time. Introduction to beef aging. Cutting a perfect ribeye is only part of the story. Another crucial process can elevate a good steak to a great one. This process is aging. Beef aging is a technique where beef is held under controlled conditions. It is kept for a specific period after slaughter and before it is cut into steaks. This is not about letting meat spoil, far from it. Aging is a carefully managed process. It aims to improve both the tenderness and the flavor of the beef. Most high-quality steaks, especially those found in good butcher shops and steakhouses, undergo some form of aging. What happens during the aging process? Two main things occur. First, natural enzymes within the meat begin to break down some of the tougher muscle fibers. These enzymes are called proteases. They work on the proteins that make up the muscle structure. This enzymatic action tenderizes the meat significantly. The longer the beef ages up to a certain point, the more tender it becomes. This is a natural biological process. It is similar to how fruit ripens and softens over time. It makes the steak much more pleasant to chew. The second major change that occurs during aging is flavor development. As the enzymes break down proteins, they also create new flavor compounds. These compounds can include amino acids like glutamate. Glutamate is responsible for umami, the savory taste. Other complex chemical reactions also take place. These reactions can lead to more concentrated, beefy flavors. Some aging methods can also impart nutty, earthy, or even slightly funky notes. These are prized by many connoisseurs. The flavor profile of aged beef is noticeably different from unaged beef. It is generally richer and more complex. It is important to note that not all beef benefits equally from aging. Higher grades of beef with good marbling, like ribeyes, are ideal candidates. The marbling helps to keep the meat moist during the aging process, especially during dry aging, which we will discuss. Leaner cuts can sometimes become too dry if aged for extended periods. The aging process requires careful control of temperature, humidity, and air circulation. This is to prevent spoilage and ensure the desired results. It is a science as much as it is an art. Time truly transforms the meat. Section 8. Aging perfected. Exploring dry aging and wet aging. There are two primary methods for aging: beef dry aging and wet aging. Each method has its own distinct process. Each imparts different characteristics to the final steak. Dry aging is the more traditional method. It involves hanging large cuts of beef like the rib primal in a refrigerated environment. This environment has carefully controlled humidity, around 75 to 85%, and temperature just above freezing. Good air circulation is also essential. The beef is left to age uncovered for several weeks. This can range from 14 days to 45 days, or even longer for extreme aging. During dry aging, two main things happen. First, moisture evaporates from the surface of the meat. This can result in significant weight loss, sometimes up to 20 to 30%. This moisture loss concentrates the beef flavor. It makes it more intense. Second, the natural enzymes we talked about get to work. They break down muscle fibers, tenderizing the meat. The surface of the beef develops a dry, dark crust. This crust is trimmed off before the meat is cut into steaks. The resulting dry-aged beef has a very rich, beefy, and often nutty or earthy flavor. It is highly prized for its unique taste profile. Wet aging is a more modern technique. It became common with the advent of vacuum packaging. In wet aging, cuts of beef are vacuum sealed in plastic bags. They are then refrigerated for a period, typically from a few days to a few weeks. The meat ages in its own juices. This prevents moisture loss. So, there is no significant weight reduction as seen in dry aging. The enzymatic tenderization process still occurs. This makes the beef more tender. However, the flavor development is different compared to dry aging. Wet-aged beef tends to have a milder, more fresh beefy flavor. It does not develop the complex, nutty or funky notes associated with dry aging. The main advantage of wet aging is that it is less expensive. There is no product loss due to dehydration or trimming. It also requires less specialized equipment. Most beef sold in supermarkets today is wet-aged. Both aging methods have their merits. Dry aging offers a more intense and unique flavor. Wet aging provides good tenderization without the higher cost or flavor concentration of dry aging. The choice often depends on desired taste and budget. Section 9. Conclusion: the passion and science behind the perfect ribeye. The journey of a ribeye steak, from the pasture to the plate, is a fascinating one. It is a story of careful selection, skilled craftsmanship, and the transformative power of time. Creating the perfect ribeye experience is not a simple task. It requires a deep understanding of the animal. It demands precision from the butcher. It benefits from the patience of the aging process. Each step is crucial. Each detail contributes to the final taste, texture, and juiciness that meat lovers crave. It is a blend of art and science. We have seen how the ribeye's origin in the rib section gives it natural tenderness. We explored the critical role of marbling. Those intricate networks of intramuscular fat are the key to flavor and succulence. The skill of the butcher cannot be understated. From expertly handling the primal cut to precisely portioning each individual steak, their work ensures that the meat's potential is fully realized. Their hands shape the foundation of a great steak dinner. This dedication to quality is paramount. It sets the stage for the final culinary steps. Then there is the magic of aging. Whether through the intense flavor concentration of dry aging or the effective tenderization of wet aging, this process unlocks deeper levels of taste and tenderness. It transforms good beef into something truly exceptional. It requires patience and controlled conditions. It is a testament to how natural processes can enhance food. The choice of aging method further refines the character of the ribeye. It allows for a range of experiences to suit different palates. This adds another layer of appreciation for this magnificent cut. Ultimately, the perfect ribeye steak is a product of passion and expertise. It is a result of people who care deeply about quality. From the rancher to the butcher to the chef or home cook, every person in the chain plays a part. Understanding the art of cutting and aging ribeyes allows us to appreciate them even more. It helps us make better choices when buying steak, and it inspires us to cook them with the respect they deserve. The ribeye truly earns its title as the king of steaks. It offers an unparalleled eating experience.